Welcome back. Today, I've built up the courage to play a rapid game here on camera. I've been putting this off for a while, and I think one of the reasons is that with puzzles, you know there's a right answer. Also, there's no opponent. And also, my ego's taken a big hit since I've started this channel and thought I would get better at chess, but my rating has stayed very close to the same as when I started. If you're new here, I'm not a titled player or chess coach. I'm not here to teach you how to play chess or to entertain you, although I hope that you do learn something and are entertained. But I'm here to see how much better I've gotten at chess. I'm going to click play and hopefully get an opponent very soon. I did. All right. We have got d4. I haven't yet studied the e6, so I'm going to go back to knight to f6. I do want to look into the e6 idea before too long, but it looks like I'm going to play it now so I can get my dark squared bishop out and castle, and we'll see what my opponent does. Okay, they're going to fianchetto over there. Is this a good place to play c5? I don't know. I'm going to try c5, see if they take, and then I'll take back. They didn't. So I'm going to trade one of my flank pawns for that pawn, I think. Or should I go ahead and get the knight out first? I think I'm going to do it, and then I'll get the knight out. I assume they're going to take there. And I just realized they have two pieces pointed here. So if I get the knight out, oh, well, I mean, I have pawns defending it, though, so I think that'll be okay. They did that. All right. I'm not doing horribly, right? I've got all my center pawns and center adjacent pawns, whereas my opponent's missing the d pawn. But I need to get bishops out. Let's play d5 first and then put the dark squared bishop behind it. Okay. I think I can still get the dark squared bishop out to d6. If they push that forward, I can just take it. And if they take here, I've got a pawn defending it. So let's do that, because I do want a castle. All right. And we'll see where the opponent goes next. I think I'm doing okay. I have a little bit more space. I have a little bit more development than my opponent, aside from my king being uncastled. I'm going to work on that really quick. Are they going to come over here and pin this knight? I think that's what I would expect from the majority of my opponents in this position. I have a lot of opponents that are really happy to come pin the knight right before I castle, but I'm not sure. Let's find out. I have an opponent who says they're from India, but I think it's after midnight in India now, so that might just be the flag they've chosen. Oh, but I did predict their move. I'm going to go ahead and play h6 and see if they take the knight. Or it might be somebody that's just up after midnight, to complete my previous thought. It's early afternoon here in Texas. Okay, they're having a hard think about whether or not they want to take the knight or go back. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Just some advice, if you're brand new to chess, when you decide to pin a knight like that with the bishop, you have to, I think, beforehand decide what you're going to do. Okay, they moved back, did not take the knight. Aimed at this pawn, which I think I was about to move it anyway. Let's go ahead and move that pawn anyway. But yeah, when you bring this bishop out to pin a knight like that, I mean, you have to expect that the pawn might come up and challenge you, and then you need to know, at least in a short time game like this, am I going to take the knight or am I going to move away? And it seemed like this opponent wasn't sure. They seemed surprised by h6 and had to think about it. But I mean, it's a good thing that they thought about it. I'm just saying, probably should have thought about it before you put the bishop there. Another plan that I have, by the way, is to put this bishop here, but I don't know. I don't know where I want to put the light squared bishop. I do want to get it off so that this rook isn't just sitting over here alone, but maybe put the light squared bishop on d7 and then come out this way. I'm not sure. It does depend on what my opponent does, and good for them for putting a lot of time into this. If you've noticed, I am delaying castling because I wasn't sure what my opponent was, going on about over here. And I've had pretty bad luck with castling early, so I've been trying to wait for the right moment. They can check me now, but that would help me decide where to put my light squared bishop. But I don't know what they're going to play here. I'm just trying to make sure all my pieces are defended and developed. I think if I was my opponent, I would get that knight out, probably to c3. They might have some other ideas going on. Oh, they put the queen on b3. That I did not expect. That's interesting. But why would they have done that? Instead of getting this out, what are they aiming at? Can I just move this rook over? Wait, okay, I think I know what they're aiming at. It took me a second. They're aiming to put this bishop here. So I think I'm just going to move the rook over to b8. And then if they put that bishop there, I'll just take it. Because now I have two pieces aimed here, and I'm still defending that pawn. And I think they have to put the queen back. I'm not 100%. But that's the only reason that I could think of, a legitimate reason, from my opponent's perspective, to put that queen on b3 was because they were planning on putting the bishop in here on b6. And I think I've stopped that. I guess I also could have stopped it with a bishop move, or something else. Hello? Okay, well, that was nice of my opponent to not move during the 3 minutes or however long that phone call lasted. Hopefully I've edited out that long part there. It did give me something to do besides think about this game, but they're having a hard time deciding whether or not to move the queen, I guess. For me, that would be pretty automatic. I don't know where I would move it, but I would have, I would decide that fairly quickly, I think. I don't know. It's a little harder to tell on this site whether or not my opponent has disconnected. Sometimes there's a little green square in their profile picture. On the other site, there's a separate dot off to the side that shows you whether or not they're still online. But here it's hard to tell. I probably wouldn't have done that in the first place. As I said, I think I would have developed that knight on their last move. But now in this situation, I think I would just move the queen. And again, I'm not sure entirely where. Maybe just back one, because I still want to get the knight out. I don't know. Maybe they've thought of, they're thinking of some stronger plan. But they are using a lot of time here. And again, I do feel like I'm in a pretty comfortable position with all my pieces defended. My knight and the dark squared bishop are defended by my queen. My queen is doing a lot of work. Okay, it does say that my opponent has disconnected now. Their signal strength dropped just now. So I don't know if they've been disconnected for a while and the site just now noticed it, or if they waited all that time and then disconnected. But it says they're going to auto-resign in about 8 seconds. Okay. It's been a long time since I had an opponent abandon on chess.com. That seems to happen to me more often on the other site. And no, it doesn't make for very good content, but hopefully I can learn something here. The eval bar, but it looks like I was doing okay. The eval bar that popped up automatically says I'm up -1. And I do like that about the live games on chess.com. On the daily games, I would like to be able to just look at the eval bar and the lines right here, but they don't show up. You have to go to the analysis board, and the game review runs in between there, which is frustrating. Well, I was right that I was very slightly ahead. I do not want to run the game review. Pat yourself on the back. Didn't really win, though. They just left. And it does say queen to d3 is their best move, but queen to c2 is very close. That's what I said I would play in this situation. So now it says if they went to d3, I would just take that pawn. But then they would put this bishop up here, and I would bring my rook back. I don't know if I would have seen that pawn or not. I got distracted waiting for my opponent to move and didn't think about what I would do if they went there. If they had dropped back, one thing that I was thinking about was pushing this light squared bishop up. That would leave the dark squared bishop undefended, but I guess I could pull it back. Guess let's go here to the beginning and see if I went behind at any point or if I just slowly crept into the lead. Okay, here the engine wasn't sure itself whether to play d5 or e6. Okay, so e6 is fine here. I thought that it was, but I wasn't 100% because, again, I have struggled against d4 openings. At least that's my perception. g3 is one of their top 2 moves according to the engine, which is what they played. We are in the Indian game Knights variation. Oh, c5. Okay, see, I wasn't sure about that. I'm a little more confident now that Stockfish said that was good. Their best move was to get the bishop out, and should I have taken? Yes. Okay, not bad. They could have either castled or taken the pawn. They chose to take the pawn, and I should have played d5 first, so they wouldn't have 2 pieces pointed down here. Okay, so knight to c6 wasn't the best move here. I was just trying to block that bishop from seeing the rook with an extra piece. That's why I put the knight out, but d5 would have accomplished the same purpose and controlled center squares. Okay, that makes sense. But this, how much did the eval change there? Backing up. Okay, it still shows d5 is my best move, but now it says knight to c6 is my next best move. So not bad, not bad. And they're really not supposed to take it, but I don't think that's really bad for them either since the knight's already out there. Right, that wasn't horrible. Doesn't matter which pawn I take with. Castling was their best move. d5 was my best move. c4 was their best move. Okay, so we both were playing fairly well out to move 8. Looks like bishop to d6 is good. And okay, see here they should have developed a piece. Stockfish has suddenly realized, after playing this pawn that, wait, we haven't developed any of these pieces yet. So knight to c3 is a good idea here, or queen to a4, which obviously aims at this pawn. And in that case, I would defend with the light squared bishop. What they took, and the eval bar is still very close to even. Okay, I was right here. They need to start getting pieces out or at least do something. But I don't think bishop to g5 was bad. It just seemed pointless. That's what they did. Okay, apparently that was bad, almost an inaccuracy perhaps. Oh, and the engine has surprised me. It just would have moved this rook over to b8 at this point. Well, I never would have guessed that. Or bishop to e5. That's here? I guess I see that. That seems like an odd choice, but I see that it's aiming at their b-pawn. I think that would just encourage them to put the knight out, and it helps protect the knight. I think if I did that and they played here, I don't know if I would castle or not. Okay, so how bad was h6? It wasn't one of the top 2 moves. It put us back at even. All right. And they were supposed to take. I don't know if my advice during the game was sound or not. It's just something that I do before I bring a bishop out to pin here. I decide if they push the pawn, am I going to take? At least I try to. Obviously, you can't in a blitz game, but in a 10-minute game, you can, they spent some time on that move. And part of that time should have been spent on if they immediately challenge me with the pawn. Am I dropping back? Am I coming back this way? Am I taking? Stockfish would have taken here, but they just dropped back. Okay, and I should have castled. This is one place where I wasn't sure, and I played a5, but rook to b8 or castling. So was a5 bad? Not really. It was right up there. And again, knight to c3. My opponent was failing to get their pieces developed. And here's where they put the queen out here. That was probably a mistake because we went from 0.3 to minus 0.3 to 1. That's a 0.7 change, at least inaccurate, possibly a mistake. Oh, and I should have castled or played rook to b8. Rook to b8, they're very close. Okay, so when I did that, before I did that, okay, so they had 5 minutes left. Okay, well, I got 27 points for that game, which doesn't seem fair. That's because I hadn't played one in a while. The longer you go between games, the more points you get for winning them. Like if you play games every few minutes, I think it gets down to, 2 or 3 points per game if you're playing an equally ranked opponent. But when you go a few weeks, it gets up into, you get 20 points per game or lose 20 points per game. Well, I don't know what else to say. That wasn't the most exciting game. I'm glad I won. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.